So I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This game is really good, the miniatures are awesome, and you've probably never heard of it. Hello again, and welcome back to Big Nerds Wargaming. Today, I want to talk to you about a game I was introduced to recently, which is called Armada. It's a game created by Mantic Games. Armada is an epic game of naval warfare set in a fantasy game setting by another Mantic Miniatures game called Kings of War. Now, I know that this channel is mostly focused on the lovely setting of Warhammer 40k, but I wanted to branch out just a little bit to showcase some other great tabletop miniature games every now and then, just to add a little variety and to showcase some other great game systems that are out there, which many of you, including myself, might not have given a second thought to in the past. Now, the truth is, there are a lot of really interesting game systems created by smaller companies that are a lot of fun and don't really get as much exposure. But, they might be worth your time. Now, I'm going to be straight with you. I don't know much about the Kings of War fantasy world, but from what I gather, it's very similar to the Warhammer old fantasy world. There's over 19 factions ranging from humans, orcs, elves, dwarves, and many more. Armada, on the other hand, has a subset of those factions available to play, totaling 10 unique naval armadas to command on the high seas of Panethor. So in front of me, I have the Armada starter set and the Orc starter fleet box sets. I picked up the starter set on eBay a while back, and I found the Orc one at a swap meet for a total steal, so I picked that up as well. So I thought I'd do a little unboxing and show you what comes in the starter set, as well as show you what some of the miniatures look like. But before we do that, if you like what we do on this channel, please like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're a fairly small channel at the moment, so your interactions really do help videos like this one reach more people and also helps the channel grow. Alright, let's see what's inside. Okay, so starting with the Armada starter set. We have a box. So on the outside of the box we have a picture of some of the gameplay. We have some fleets and cards as well as a game mat. But inside, alright, so this is pretty basic packaging. You can tell that Mantic Games is a smaller company. So I think these are the separate ships. So I'm just going to take these out and set those aside for a second. So these look like the MDF laser cut boards for the bases on the ships. So the ships they sit on top of these. So I'll have to paint these blue like the ocean, or paint some water on those. We have some dice. Different colored dice. Looks like we have some D10s. And some D6s, different colors. This is something cool. So we have fleet cards, or reference cards. So this is kind of similar to the reference index cards that we have for 40k. So we have the different ship stats on these, as well as their weapons. And I think point value as well. And then we also have some upgrade reference cards. So that's very cool. I like having reference cards so you're not flipping through books all the time. And then the starter set also comes with some tokens. So we have a compass to measure how you turn the ship. I don't recall what these other ones are. And then we have an island, range ruler. And then on the back we have a bunch of other miscellaneous tokens, I think to track damage, as well as other conditions that are happening on your ships. And then of course we have the core rulebook, Armada. It's got lore, as well as how to play the game, some scenarios, and some overview of all the different factions you can play as. Just kind of flip through this so you can see some cool artwork. It's a nice center spread. And then lastly, we have it's almost like feels like a poster, but it's a big 4x4 water map. So you can play a game of Armada. I think it's 4x4. It might be 4x3. But anyways, yeah, 4x3. So we have different markings. I think the wind can be blowing from any one of these directions during the game, which will affect speed and things like that. It's been a while since I've played this game, but I played a couple rounds and it was really fun. I mean, fun enough that I go pick this up. So, all right, so let's take a look at some of the. What do we have here? These are, I think these might be names of ships, little ship nameplates. Like we have Morax, Morguns, those must be orc ship names, and then we have Aegis Shield, Katrina von Spectra. Yeah, so those are the ship names. So let's take a look at some of these miniatures. So they're wrapped in bubble wrap. And these are resin miniatures. So we have some ships here. These look like some of the orc ships. And they're pretty high detail. Get a good look at that. That's an orc ship. And then some of these other ones. So the starter set comes with two factions, orcs and Basilians. I think the Basilians are like humans, maybe a little zealous, maybe a little religious or kind of Puritan. Yeah, so these are some of the Basilian ship bodies. Yeah, these are some really high detail miniatures. And I think these will paint up pretty quickly. Now they do have kind of like a film on them, so I think that's kind of similar to Forge World models from Games Workshop, where they have the resin release agent on the models. So I think I'm going to have to just clean these off with some soap and water before I go ahead and prime them and start painting them. All right, so we have some more sails for the Basilian ships. This feels like really tough resin. It's good. I don't think it'll break easy. And then we got some more pieces. These look like cannons that would stick on the side of either the orcs or the human ships. I see a big fist. I think this is probably part of an orc ship. And then in this one we have some more masts. Looks like. I'll set those over there. And this last bag, I believe, has all the sails for the orc ships. Yeah, there we go. These are the sails for all the orc ships. They're kind of triangular shaped. Well, I should probably start washing these off and maybe put some paint on these to see what they look like when they're all done.
So I started by building the Basilian Gun Panther and the Orc Blood Runner. The build instructions were not included in the box, however Mantic has them all available online, which I was quickly able to find. I had to clean up a few mold lines using a hobby knife, and as I went, I put each piece into a bath of water and dish soap. As mentioned before, I could feel the slickness of the release agent on the resin, but a quick scrub with soapy water cleans it right off. After the pieces dried, I carefully assembled as much as I could with super glue, leaving the sails detached as it will make painting the ships much easier, leaving those as a sub-assembly. I then primed all the pieces I was going to paint with Vallejo airbrush primer, but any light colored primer or rattle can would also do fine. Now, since I wanted to get these ships painted fairly quickly, I decided to use contrast paints as much as possible. So I started out with GORE-GRUNTA fur and used it to paint the hull and the masts of the Gun Panther. This color makes for a great warm-toned wood color, and it really works well over all the wood paneling and details on the hull of the ship. I then used Wyldwood contrast paint for the Bloodrunner hull and masts. This color is much darker, and I thought it would be good to use different colors to break up the overall wood colors between the two fleets. Going back to the Basilian ship, I used Apothecary White contrast paint for the sails to add some gray shade to the white primer. Then I used Flesh Tear's red contrast on the Orc sails to lay down a vibrant base coat. After the Apothecary White dried on the Gun Panther sails, I went over it again with a dry brush of Ulthuan Grey to lighten up the sails a bit more. Then on the Orc sails, I also did a dry brush of Evil Sunz Scarlet to really make the upper ridges more vibrant and red. Next on the Gun Panther, I used Corax White to block in some side trim detailing with a clean white base. Then I used Altdorf Guard Blue to paint the wood trim pieces underneath, as well as some of the details on the emblem printed on the sailcloth. For the metal details, I used Ironbreaker and painted all the lower recessed portions of the prow, as well as the cannons on the ship, and any other metal bands that were wrapped around the masts and sails. Next, I used Liberator Gold to paint the rest of the metallic details around the prow, as well as the side trim around the cabin, and the emblem on the sails. I then took Cygor Brown and painted anywhere I saw a bundle of rope tied around the sails on both the Basilian ship and the Orc ship. For the primary metallic details on the Orc ship, I used a darker metallic color, Leadbelcher. I used this for the corkscrew prow, the cannons, as well as some metal plates and rings on the sails. Going back to the Gun Panther, I shaded all the silver metallics with Nuln Oil shade all around to add some weathering to the metal, as well as cover up any last bits of white primer I missed. I then did a similar treatment to the metallic parts on the Orc ship and sails as well. After that dried, I shaded all the gold areas on the Gun Panther with Seraphim Sepia to make the gold look a bit more warmer and have more character. I then went back over the Orc ship while the sepia shade was drying and did some layering over some parts of the Leadbelcher metal with brass scorpion to make the metallic parts look like rusty iron. After the sepia shade dried on the Gun Panther, I took a mixture of 2 parts Stormhost Silver and 1 part Liberator Gold and layered on some highlights to the most raised areas of the Liberator Gold base coat everywhere on the hull and the sails. At this point, the ships were both ready for final assembly and I could call them done. I'm really happy with the way both of these ships turned out. The contrast paint does a lot of the shading work with just 1 coat, so you can spend more time in other areas of the model, such as the metallics and other details. The 2 ships painted up fairly quickly, only taking me a couple hours, and now that I have the general scheme down, the rest of my ships should paint up fairly quickly, and I'm looking forward to getting them on the table soon.
Alright, well I think that's where we're going to leave things at. Armada, open up the starter set, painted a ship or 2, and we have the Orc starter fleet. I have to work on that next. But yeah, so it's a really fun game, and I think I'm going to get a battle report on the channel coming up soon where we feature Armada, maybe some more in the future, because Mantic Games also has a service called Mantic Vault, which you get access to STL files so you can 3D print some of your own ships, and each month they have a new release. Released quite a few already of the Basilians and Orcs, as well as some of the Dwarves. So I might fire up the printer and print some more ships and add to the fleets, and maybe get some more games in. So lastly, if you stuck around to the end of this video, please go ahead and subscribe if you are not already subscribed. At the very least, leave a like and leave a comment and let me know what you think of this video. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.